Now we're in
Okay.
regular mode.
Okay, it's 5:40. Thanks, Joel. We've had some issues getting connected here. So 5:40, I'll call the meeting to order. So this is the City Helena Non-Motorized Travel Advisory Council meeting for February 13th, 2024. So in the room is Lucas Wallace, myself, Greg Worth, David Knopke, and then online we have Joel Ebert. And I don't see anybody else online. So we do have a quorum with the three of us. I did get a message from Kevin Reckoff and James Serwo that they were not able to attend tonight. Also got a message from Sarah Sandow. She was not able to attend tonight. So. Okay, I sent out the minutes from last month. That was our budget recommendations. I did get a notice. I noticed that I did not change the date on it. So it's dated 2023, not 2024. So I will make that correction and resend it. Anybody else have any other corrections on the January minutes? Nope. Seeing none, they are approved as submitted. So moving on to agenda items, city staff report. The floor is yours, David.
So the city an update. If you're agreeable, I'd like to table until next meeting so I can have the technology so that everybody can see what that technology actually looks like. Otherwise, it would be kind of me just talking about it. If that's okay with everybody.
What is the?
So the Cidian's a software that's web-based. We can bring it up all the sidewalk. Cidian. Okay. It brings up all our ADA ramps, whether they're deficient or not deficient, the sidewalks, all that other stuff. We can do construction plans off of it. We can do a bunch of things off of it, but without actually having the software up to show you, it's kind of pointless.
I'm fine with that. And as long as we, I saw the software at the Sidewalk Summit, fancy software. I'm more concerned about where we get to a project from that. So I'd be happy, if we can show it next month, but let's, if we can limit it to like 5.
It's only going to be very quick. I can show a demo of what I was planning on showing is what we basically showed at the Sidewalk Summit. For those that weren't in attendance, what it looks like for 1,000 feet around Central School and how it develops those plans and how we can use it to query for worst first or what we want to really target. Is that vertical displacements? Is it tree roots? Is it, non-existent ramps? Is it whatever? So yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
MPO update. We got some standard language from MDT that we tweaked, and we're still going kind of back and forth with some comments between the attorneys and everything. So that's where that's at. And hopefully we get some draft finals here shortly. Future projects.
Oh, but on the MPO update, the position is actually advertised.
Yes,
that's so.
It's kind of a weird advertisement, but that's the way that we had to fit it into our pay matrix. So.
Okay. Has there been any applicants yet?
No.
Okay.
No applicants as of yet. But
okay.
It's out there for quite a while, so I think it's out there for 3 weeks. So I didn't really expect to see anybody within the first few days or first week, but that's why I had to add that MPO manager at the end so that it would actually get caught up in people's searches if they're actually looking for that.
Okay. And then can we have a MTAC representative on a selection committee?
I didn't ask, but I will ask HR and the city manager on it. So I did talk to MDT since 11th is MDT jurisdiction, but we have maintenance on it. But that flashing yellow and more in there will get replaced with a rectangular rapid flash pedestrian action rated signals. So
Okay,
that'll, I think, enhance that crossing 1,000%, and when it's just kind of go when cars stop. So
yeah. And do you know, will that happen this spring?
we put the we're putting it's either been ordered or it will be ordered this week, because instead of the solar ones, since there's already hard power there, we just decided to go with it's already wired, so we might as well just hook it up. It's that, and it's a little shaded there amongst some other sites, so we're concerned about having enough battery recharge over some of our cloudier days in that spot. So it actually worked out for the best.
Yeah, so it's anticipated it'll be installed this spring, so it can be used for this school year.
Depending on, like I said, I haven't got a word on how far out those are. When we ordered the last one through MDT, it took quite a while from the manufacturer. So when we get an update on the delivery.
Okay. Right. So with the last year's budget, we ordered we got 2 RRFBs. So this is where one of them is going to go. Do we have a location for the other one potentially?
Because of the area, Bellevue Saddle crossing there, because we had an extra advance warning, so that one we're around that corner there, and that one is pretty wide open, so I don't think we have any charging issues in that area. But that was brought up not only by MTAC but also the ADA specifically, so that was a good spot to kind of start spreading out across town.
Yep, we've already given our advisement, so I fully support that intersection.
Yep. So BNSF easement. I got an email. I sent an email back. Waiting on a reply back from the Public Works. They just basically are asking for more information on how the proposed trail will impact BNSF operations. And we've sent cross sections, we've sent exhibits, we've sent so I think my next step, once I hear back, is to ask for in person or a virtual meeting to really explain our position that moving the trail from its current location to the proposed location is only going to benefit. It's only pulling those pedestrians farther and farther away from the tracks. And then with the proposal, there's a fence already included in there. So that entire length would be fenced. So their concerns of pedestrians just kind of crossing. I mean, obviously we're not going to mitigate it 100% because people can always go around the ends of the fence. But I think the benefit is there to show them. Policy, ADA enforcement. So based on the ADA committee recommendation from last year, we've been working on some revised language, and it started off as purely ADA enforcement mechanisms, but then we quickly realized that it's basically we can standardize the approach for all code enforcement across the board. So, you know, any development or roadway or whatever. So we're working on that, working on tweaking some of the language to discuss potential fines, or how do we go about what's the enforcement piece look like. And we have given some options to the city attorney's office. They've been reviewing them. And I think probably what will happen is the next meeting, one of the next meeting that we have with the commission, we will ask them, how would you like to see this enforcement? Here's the process, you know, courtesy notice, blah, blah, blah. Or do you see that there's an egregious one that needs to be, you know, addressed immediately? Yeah. Again, we've talked about it internally. We have a pretty good workflow for that. But, you know, there's always the option, is it a fine one time and that's it, or is it a fine until they fix the situation? You know, what is how much is the fine? Does it escalate if the same person does the same thing over and over again over, so many months? There's a lot of different options. And I don't think, I mean, the intent is, I guess, to be a bit punitive, but it's more to educate folks so that they just don't do it again, so that those barriers like hoses across the sidewalk or trash cans on the sidewalk, we get people thinking about it more, and then realizing that that is a barrier for our disabled community, or even some able-bodied people that can't maneuver as well as they used to. So there's going to be a big component of education. Sidewalk code revisions. We're working on some sidewalk code revisions to hopefully make the variance process a bit more streamlined and more flexible, and hope to have those to the commission for first review sometime in March at an admin meeting.
Okay.
MDT projects, Lola Shepherd. So after, I believe that I know they mentioned your comments, Greg, and we provided comments as well. They are continuing to work with the property owners of Sleepy Giant Lanes and the chiropractic clinic across the street for the impacts of that roundabout. So basically, we told them we want sidewalks, and then we're not doing anything until you resolve your issues with the property owners and resolve our issue, and then we'll start to talk about maintenance responsibilities until those other things get fixed. Just tabling it for the time being, so that
it's not that we want side policies.
So instead of putting the cart before the horse, we're saying let's work through this methodically, get the things worked out with the landowners, with the city, and then take the next steps.
Okay, thank you.
TA grant, 6th Ward area. So we went out for a design build this past fall or summer fall, and the cost per ramp was just too high for us to recommend award. Worked with MDT. We're currently getting the environmental done, completed by a consultant, and then we will go out with basically indefinite quantity type contract, where we say we have this much money, whoever can do the most ramps basically wins. Not that simplified, but that's kind of the gist of it. Instead of getting a cost per ramp, we're going to see who can do the most. And yeah, so that will be, got about a month and a half of environmental to do, which is, as you know, crazy, Greg, to do an environmental document for a built environment, but
It's federal money.
It's the rules, so we're doing it. So it's going to be about 6 weeks from start to finish on that, and that's mostly, that's Greg knows, and everybody probably knows that, getting the specific agencies to respond back and agree. Mostly MDT's review, so hopefully it'll come back quicker, and then we can get that out. Currently, our ADA ramp project is out. We are seeing a bit more interest this year. Of requesting to see the documents, whether we get bids or not is always the other thing, but we're hopeful that get at least 3 or 4 bids, so that have a good competitive process. So other than that, that's all I got.
So in the 6th Ward area, it's a IDIQ contract. Can we look at putting complete street features on? The one that I'm thinking of is the intersection, but northeast of, between Helena High and Bryant. There's an intersection there that's important, and then the southeast corner of Helena High School that just screams for some bulb outs or treatment there.
We can definitely look at it. But as of right now, we just released it as we typically do with the single and double ramps, so that we can get those barriers removed. If there's compliant ramps, we're not looking at replacing those. These are going to be targeted more for either non-compliant ramps or corners that don't have ramps at all.
Are those the intersections? I mean, are they in the that project for ramps? Do you know, or can we see which ramps are?
So we haven't. I mean, the delineation, but we're going to go back through and do the priority of some of these ramps, because obviously we both have ideas that some are more important than others. Those things. So we'll be doing that through the time when they're doing the environmental, so over the next 2 weeks.
Can MTAC weigh in on which ones are?
Yeah, if we're done next meeting, I can definitely bring.
That would be awesome.
What we have and what we see as the priority. We are still trying to complete what was done from the TIF money that was done down by Gallatin and Helena Avenue down there. So we're trying to make sure that the Roberts corridor is complete. A couple of those other corridors are complete. That obviously there's some work over done, you know, by the Eagle Manor and stuff that we'll probably be targeting just because of the nature of the higher pedestrian activity there versus maybe one of those interior. We'll see how far the money goes. Hopeful that you know, we get some competitive numbers like we always are and stretch that money as far as.
Yeah, I mean, if we can actually even use that money to support a grant application for the ones next to the schools, you know, if there's safe routes to school, other route, you know, other funding sources that are available.
Well, we're still working with the school. Not for sure when our next meeting is. It should be coming up here pretty quick on the safe routes to school, and that's on our agenda topic to talk about. So.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay, what about TIC? What's the status on 6th Avenue? That's a mill and fill and replacing ramps, but you know, are there opportunities for complete street features?
Again, the priority is to get ramps in place. We're only going to go to Beatty because the Davis and 6th S curve there is going to take a little bit more design and a little bit more thought how we want to improve that ramp, that intersection itself. And it really doesn't. I mean, the next street is Rodney, which was already improved with the Rodney Street project. Then farther down, we got one block that we could potentially do, but then the next block, there's some vaults in there that we're going to have to work with the adjacent property. Basically,
so what are the limits going to be?
It's going to be Montana to Beatty.
Okay, that's what
should be the street right before Davis. We were going to go like halfway down with the mill fill, but I didn't want to. We're just going to stop just past Beatty at the intersection so that we can get the ADA ramps improved right there at Beatty. And then the next project will be from where we stopped there to where we stopped with the Rodney project. Get that little section done.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Holback being a safe route to school. So can we look at potential complete street features at 6th and Holback?
That project was already given out last year, so the contractor already has that. so we don't have really any flexibility to modify that.
But it could be change order. I mean, there could be flexibility.
There could be. Well, I mean, again, our goal is to remove the barriers, not, do enhancements. If we can get bulb outs for the same price as ADA ramps, then I don't see that there's a reason why we couldn't strategically place it, but it won't be everywhere. But the cost differential is where we have to look at.
I understand that. I just don't want to miss an opportunity to do something better while we're there, because we don't do it now, it's a generation away to do something else. So would it be prudent to provide advisement to the commission on a project like this to evaluate something, or
more than welcome to your advisory to the commission. So, but like I said, 6 has already was that last year. They're just going to be finishing it this spring, so the contractor. So
part of it's been done already up through.
Yeah, some of the ramps have already been done. They're not 100%.
I don't know if they've done Hoback stuff already. I feel like they got on this stuff.
I mean, because even there was an amendment from Commissioner Reed to, I can't remember how the amendment was actually stated, but to consider complete street features on the 6th Avenue project.
I'd have to double check and see where they. Not sure if you got the whole back.
David, can I ask, what's the code changes? Does it just have to do sidewalk code changes? Just have to do with the
variance process,
how to get variances of it?
Build in some flexibility for like property owners that are doing some infill off some of these dead end streets, don't have improved roads adjacent to them, and that putting in sidewalks in some instances may or may not be a great idea at this point in time, but that it would be able to be. And again, this is wording that we don't know yet. Is it a deferral? Is it waiver of right to protest? What have you? Basically, until those improvements get there, you have some infill areas that there's pretty large gaps between where an improved street is to some of these other places. So instead of building a sidewalk to nowhere, as what code says, to add some flexibility in there to maybe look at doing it at a later date or other options.
Question for you. Sarah's not here for the walk audit. Why, Tom? So she can report on the walk audit. But if we're doing work on signal, can we get an LPI, leading pedestrian interval, at the intersection of 11th and Rodney on that new signal there?
We can look at it. Again, we have to check that with MDT, because that's MDT jurisdiction. So
yeah, I mean, when we did the walk out of there, we almost saw it, but then we did run over. And the school's there, right? I think it's, if you could check on that and report next month. I mean, I plan on bringing that walk on it, but it seems like that should be able to be added in there. And
Yeah,
like
we can check.
and in a long enough time for a red to allow our kindergarten to walk across there. Right.
Greg, can I ask another question that I think is kind of on this topic?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if somebody builds a sidewalk, they need to make it ADA, right? And I think I noticed when you were going through your program at the Sidewalk Summit, something that I've seen where they build a new sidewalk and it creates a puddle. Supposedly it's ADA, but it's made a puddle where, you know, it becomes a sheet of ice inside that ramp. I don't think that's correct. I mean, the code should say that it should drain, right?
Mhm.
It shouldn't do that.
So
So what's going on? Like, is it, and then if somebody does it like that and it's defective, like what's the remedy? I mean, do you make them redo it? Like,
if we notice that somebody created a bird bath, and we can, I mean, typically they have a year warranty, just like, you know, we do when we have stuff that they could go back to their contractor and have that redone. The city and software identified retains water is what it's called as a deficiency. It identified a few across the city of that, but so one of the things that we're requiring in the future, that if you're in a flat area, kind of like the 6th Ward, that you really don't see it really well, that we can have our flush truck come out and put water at both ends of the ramp and let it flow and see if it drains. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't need ADA and it would have to be redone.
how is inspecting and signing off on that stuff when it's done?
So we now have, you know, an inspector. Over the last year, we've had an inspector going out and inspecting every, it previously was kind of between building and engineering, but we've taken over that last year, where I have a person dedicated doing ramps and sidewalks exclusively. When they're getting done, he obviously has other duties, but they go on and check all those and do all inspections through the building permits. So hopefully some of those nuances that, you know, and sometimes they settle too, over the year. So we may not, it may have been a compliant ramp when it was built, and for whatever reason it settled. Again, we have that year to go back and ask them to fix that.
So everything that you're doing, you have a warranty for a year warranty to go back on.
That's what's in the contract.
Any other questions for David? Do we have any questions?
I got nothing.
All right, thank you. Moving on, Sarah is not here. And Lieutenant Xander, he's not on either.
I sent him the link. Tell him we're having technical difficulty. I don't see him. Let me just.
You want to go to the next item and see if he comes back?
Yeah, moving on.
Oh, he says he's on, but we can't hear him. But I don't see him. Oh, there he is. Promote the panelist.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Try unmuting again.
How about now?
Okay. Yep, we got you.
Great.
All right. I'm looking at the light again.
Oh, that's because you're on my phone, and we're using that as a speaker because.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, we're using multiple devices to be functional here, so we can hear you. So if you
Okay.
want to go ahead and give your report, we can hear
Yeah.
you.
Sure. So just doing a quick report on, we had a very busy month with traffic crashes, as you can expect. Let's see, we had a total of 18 injury crashes for the last month. One of those was a vehicle versus pedestrian at Benton and Meadow. The driver was unable to stop on the icy road and struck the pedestrian. And the driver was cited on that one. We had 2 rollover crashes. One of those was a vehicle versus a building. And then we had 281 non-injury crashes, which about a third of those was private property. So, so a very, very busy month in the traffic crash world.
Okay.
Did everybody on the force manage to avoid any collisions?
Yes, I don't think we had any crashes. Somebody did run into one of the fire department's trucks, so.
It was, I can believe that it was a busy month. I saw quite a few myself.
Yeah, we were having a hard time keeping up. It was, well, just like streets. I mean, everybody was having a hard time keeping up. It was, when the weather does that, there's not much you can do. I told the guys over at City Streets that I was glad they were there because somebody actually hated the police more than that. They hated somebody more than the police. Nobody was mad at City Streets.
Okay. The other question I had for you is on school zone patrols. I've since the streets are snow covered, I reluctantly have to drive because my skinny tires don't do well on ice. So I go by Jefferson School frequently, and it seems like there has been the compliance on the school zone, the 15-mile school zone is, waning. So do you have like a policy of frequency of patrolling around the schools for the school zones?
We don't. We kind of try to keep the school resource officers doing that. And to be honest with you, it just depends on how busy they are with other things. If they've got unruly students and kids dealing with things, and that's what they have to deal with. Especially in months like this where we're so busy, the patrol officers just don't have the time to work traffic, especially during the day when it's crash upon crash upon crash. So it's, unfortunately, we don't have a traffic unit. It's something that the chief has as a goal, but we just have to get our staffing numbers up. And every time it feels like we're making a step in the right direction, when it comes to staffing, it's 3 steps back. So I think since the beginning of the year, we've lost 3 officers. So it's been tough trying to keep our numbers up.
No, I understand. I just asked it. You know, if you can, try and patrol around at least the elementary schools and the middle school, you know, at 8 o'clock and 3 o'clock.
Yep.
As best
Yeah.
you
And I
can.
know they do wind up focusing a lot of time on the high schools because without pointing the finger, I think sometimes high school kids don't drive as well as adults, but you know, they do tend to spend more time around the high schools just trying to keep those kids under control. But I will definitely point out that they need to spend some time in those elementary school zones as well.
Yeah, I mean, when they got the 50-mile-an-hour zone on Broadway, it was a very noticeable, the police presence there and the compliance.
Oh, sure.
And that's why we, talk about complete streets is that, those features help, slow down traffic as well too. So if we can apply complete street features, we can hopefully lessen your burden as well.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions for Lieutenant Zander?
On that accident on Benton, was it a vehicle on Benton and somebody trying to cross there?
Yeah, they were crossing, actually walking their dog, and the road was icy, and according to the report, the driver was trying to stop, but they just couldn't stop. And the pedestrians have the right of way when the roads are icy. I would just urge folks that, make sure that the cars are going to be able to stop before you step out onto the street.
Yeah. I think it caught a lot of people by surprise in how it wasn't always that obvious how hard it was to stop with some of this ice.
That was actually the first city staff person on scene there.
Was that Meadowview? Is that north of Custer Avenue? Is that where Meadow?
No, it's part of the subdivision there, right across from the golf course.
Sun Haven.
Yeah, it's the mid block crossing there.
Yep.
Or the mid subdivision crossing.
Were the people hurt bad, or they're going to recover?
No, I know they went in an ambulance. That's all I know. So definitely some injuries. Nothing. I guess it didn't really specify the report whether it was broken bones or anything like that, but it wasn't a fatality. I know that it was not a fatality.
Okay. Good. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Lieutenant Zander. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we talked about moving on the MPO implementation. It'd be great if we could get an MTAC representative on the selection committee. And then the LRTP RFQ, is that something we're going to wait till we get an MPO planner?
So we can't officially move forward with the LRTP until we have the interlocal, the planning and performance agreement signed and in place. So we're hoping that those get done here in March, and hopefully we have the signatures maybe by the end of March, maybe into April. And then once we get those signed, then we can actually put out the RFQ for the LRT.
Okay, so it'd be at earliest May, likely.
Award, yeah. We're hoping that we're pushing to get the required ones for to access the funding, and then we'll if we have to catch up those other agreements, then we'll do it that way.
And maybe we will have an MPO planner by then.
Like I said, we have the position open for almost 3 weeks for the first review, and we'll see what candidates are in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we have enough to interview at the end of that 3 weeks, then we'll do interviews. And yeah, like we said, hopefully have selection. And basically it's just going to depend on where that person is from.
Yeah.
And if they can find housing, if they're from out of Helena, and when we can get them on board.
Right. With the MPO, do they have language that they use for an LRTP RFQ?
So there is additional requirements for, it's still called the LRTP, whether you're an MPO or not, but there are additional sections that you have to do and additional requirements that you have to have inside the LRTP. One of them that's coming with the MPO that we're just going to add it on to the consultant's work is a public participation plan that meets the federal CFR. So.
I've got on here, like, saw on admin meeting stuff, there's the state local infrastructure partnership ADA project. There's some proposed ADA ramps with that.
So that was Senate Bill 355, I think, set aside monies for cities. It was, you'll have to read it. It started off kind of as a city county bill. So there's language in there that's a little not applicable to cities. The guy kind of got left in there, but long story short, the city got $450,000 through that grant to do water, wastewater. There's a list of projects that can be used with that money. There was 3 projects that were brought forward. One was a biomixer for the wastewater treatment plant. The other one was an alarm and sprinkler system for fire station 2, and the other one was ADA ramps that proposed to basically use the entire grant to install additional ADA ramps. And the commission has yet to decide exactly how that looks. I don't remember when I think it might be the next meeting that they're here about hear it again and make some decisions. They kind of did their priorities and then asked staff to come up with a plan to address. There was 2 number 1 nominations for the wastewater, 2 number 1 for the fire, but all 5 of them had different 1, 2s, and 3s, or how they went. So
are they going to pick one of the 3?
They can pick one of the 3, or they can pick 2, or they can pick all 3.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
They can do whatever they want.
You're saying
we have a chance. It's a 25% match for the money. So the total project, which is some interesting language. So if it's part of a larger, if there was 3 biomixers that were going to be replaced at the same time, but they were only asking for money for 1 because that's all the count. It's the total project cost that you have to match, not just what the grants. So it's a little different than most grants, but yes. So we have a chance to get some extra money. It would be any amount that we could get additionally would be great to start, chipping away at the ramps out there.
Are there specific locations that are identified with the funds?
So we told them what we would do with those is identify and do the worst first, and get those ones that are really egregious out of the way and go from there. So.
Okay. No, I just asked, trying to apply the complete street policy, and I know it's not a lot of money. It's probably too much to try and do any complete street features. But
yeah, I mean, if they divvy it up evenly 3 ways, then you're you're looking at 100, 145,000 piece somewhere, and then with the grant on or the match on top of that. So, I mean, it's still something.
Yeah.
We're not gonna definitely not gonna balk at whatever we get, because if we can get another ramp installed or 10 ramps installed, that's better than what we had going into it.
I think there's plenty of ramps around town that we don't need custom street features that can be used. So, but yeah, just keep us up to date if that gets awarded, and so we're all in agreement. Sure, where we're spending the money. Thanks. The next one I got in here, a traffic calming program, and this is something that I think it probably could use some updating, with the new MUTC be updating, but
it is going to get looked at with the engineering standards when they come forward, but we're doing that internal review right now. So some of those traffic calming aren't really, I don't want to say feasible or realistic, but there's other ones that would work better for Helena because of our winters and our, some of the things. So we're going to try to make that menu of traffic calming a little bit shorter, so it's not as overwhelming of, oh, we got a chicane, we got this, we got that type thing. We're going to try to make it a little bit shorter so that it's a little bit more manageable, and then update the neighborhood traffic calming program as well, since it wasn't, I think it hasn't been updated since inception of the program back in 2000.
yeah, I just asked that we be involved in that, because that is actually, I think, in our resolution that we advise on the neighborhood or traffic calming program. And if we can introduce, like a temporary traffic control measures, in there also. And then I'd also like to see other options rather than a neighborhood SID. So that's just kills any ideas.
I don't have a whole lot of funding options. So
I understand. But
so I mean that you can let the commission know that you want to explore those, and we'll definitely, bring it forward as well. But from a city perspective, I don't have many options. Like with the current traffic calming, if it doesn't meet the criteria and within the traffic calming program, then if it's still a recommended project from staff perspective, the residents can't do an SID basically on their own or run it through the city, but the city had to put some limits on that stuff, so because of the limited funds. So.
Okay, complete street implementation, we talked about that, the 6th Avenue and the TA project, Helena High and Bryant. The other ones, like, there was the 5th project at the Vanilla Bean, on Helena and stuff there. What's the status of that project?
I believe it's approved, and I believe they have bulb outs already in the design. I can bring something to the next meeting if it is an approved project and show you what it looks like.
That'd be great, because I know they got money, but I haven't seen what the exact project is, and one of the concerns was 20-foot wide one way. And
that's down Gallatin. So that'd be down starting at the Vanilla Bean, going westbound to basically the entrance of the transit center, and then one way northbound. So that's the only piece that's fun.
I understand.
Okay.
I don't like it. Personally, I don't like a 20-foot wide one way street. And then some of this other stuff I've just got as placeholders on here. I don't have any report on stop sign and this new sign for cyclists. National Avenue, Argyle recommendations. That was a walk audit we did. You know, since we only have 3 of us here, we can probably defer that for later for potential LRTP update. Same with, you know, city long-term goals for MTAC visioning. That's probably a better LRTP discussion. And then the SAFE program, that kind of lumps up lots of things in together. That is probably best deferred till potential an MPO position and the LRTP update. The fairgrounds repaving project, is that a project that's going to happen? Been funded?
County is funding the I think it's $1 and so they're looking at paving some of their existing parking lots, redoing the entrance roads. So
yeah, and it'd be nice to have a dedicated non-motorized path from Custer Avenue there instead of the big free-for-all, and then introduce some trees in the sea of parking there. I sent comments to the commission, but is there anything we can do, boots on the ground, you know, to try and
the sidewalk non-motorized path, whatever, you know, however you want to label it, that has been brought up in the discussions that we've had on that. So it's definitely in the, they don't have really any final plans. They have final thoughts of where they want to do paving. I think it's all going to boil down to how much budget they have and how far we'll go.
Will there be some plans to review?
I don't know. I'd have to check.
And then other city projects, school zones. So I actually did see the 15-mile-an-hour signs around Helena Middle School. That's awesome. And then has there been discussion on any other schools?
So our next meeting with the school board, that's when we were planning on having that safe routes to school discussion and then ask them what their next priority is as far as looking at that. But one of our spring projects is to go around the schools and look and add the school zone so that the entire perimeter of the school is covered by schools.
Okay.
And that's just a city project that we're going to do. But if the school has a pressing one that they, you know, have gotten feedback from, then we would go and try to do that this winter. But kind of had a good window there to fix that one when we had some nice weather. Now it's just a little more difficult to get the sign pounded in and get little kids called, but
yeah,
it's possible.
No, and that's what I'd still like to do, a walk audit, you know, behind Helena Middle School. The parents getting COVID, I ended up dropping my daughter off at school last week, and I specifically avoided behind Helena Middle School, but I could look down and see the chaos.
No, and that's so one of the things that I've asked the school district is they work with the city to mitigate the parent drop off chaos.
Yeah, and I don't, to be honest, I don't think you can unless you actually, we do lane narrowing. And
Well, and then, you know, we did bring up, you know, for Central, you know, a one-way in front of the school so that it forced parents on the drop-off kids. Not understanding that not all of those kids sit on the passenger side of the vehicles, but when you have passengers, typically they're on the passenger side, and then that would force them to drop them off on the school side instead of on the opposite side where they have to run in front or back of the vehicle and across traffic and everything. So, but yeah, the school board has some ideas. And I've worked on similar projects with schools down in Wyoming. on providing some turnout facilities on property, on school properties that have the room, so that you get them out of the flow and you bring them into a location where the speeds are drastically reduced and they have to stop, and then they can go out and get back into the flow of traffic. So it's not as chaotic. Like you said, we're never going to solve the problem, but if we can minimize it as much as we can and make it as safe as we can, then that's a great step forward.
Yeah, and just so people know, I think it's tonight is the school board meeting, where SMA Architects is presenting the facilities plan update. So I encourage all MTech members, I'm assuming that's going to be live on the school board website, to obviously look at not only what schools are potential for closing, but what are if there's recommendations, around the sites of the school. So I've got my own ideas on which schools should or should not be closed, but everybody should weigh in on it. And I should have been talking with Dan Rispins on East Helena schools, and they've got a brand new school, Prickapare Elementary, and drop-offs are horrendous there. So even if you try and do something perfect, it just doesn't work. The best thing to do is have people walk and ride their bikes to school. It's just eliminate car traffic. Pedestrian crossings at Montana and Bozeman, I know that one's programmed. Is there any status on a public meeting or anything with that one?
No, that one, the consultant had to table that for a little bit while they worked on something else. But that should be starting up here the next couple of weeks again, and we should probably be seeing that public meeting probably before the next.
Okay, and then the Lindale Ewing, that's not even a budgeted project, but that was one of our recommendations last month to budget for that project. Centennial Trail easement, we talked about that. The Benton Avenue widening the trail transfer station entrance. So is the Benton Avenue project, is that going to go up to bid, or what's the status?
So the transfer station piece is separated now. That's Public Works will work on that as they phase it. I believe they're trying to phase that in. The widening project, we have some curbing that we want to do, especially on the east side. We've broken that up into a little bit differently than we did last time to see if we could get some better bids and go from there. So it is in the process of getting ready for bid that whenever our consultant gets those plans ready.
Right. And then there was public comment for the crossing of the railroad tracks. And I provided comments about connectivity there to extend it to sidewalk areas. Because right now, the only place that actually has good connection is Centennial Trail to the new trail along Benton.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Lawrence and Last Chance Gulch, is there any update there?
No update on that one. They finished the data collection. We're waiting for their final report, recommendations for that. But the idea there is to reconstruct the intersection per se. I'm not going to say we're going to obliterate everything, but as you notice, the stamped concrete has been as durable as I think they had hoped it would be. So we'll be fixing that, but in that we'll be adding bulb outs and making sure those pedestrian crossings are as narrow as we can make them and still provide the connectivity for the vehicles that are traveling through. But there's we asked them to look at all options for that. Pedestrian actuated, signals versus a regular traffic signal versus what we can do there to think outside of the box, since that intersection, 6th and Last Chance, and a couple other downtown are the more heavily used intersections in town. So think more pedestrian, by still allowing vehicles to use the area, but that's where we're kind of headed now.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody have any other questions? Public comment?
So have we heard anything about getting in front of an admin meeting to just present our recommendations on the budget that we submitted, but make the case for why those should get attention?
Well, it's directed at me, so I will reach out to Danae and ask if we can, because I know that's one that Danae mentioned, is that they want to have all these advisory bodies on one admin meeting. So I'll reach out to Danae and see if we can get scheduled, and hopefully prior to. Is there a schedule for the transportation department to present the budget at an admin meeting? I don't remember it.
If we've been scheduled yet with the commission, we're still working through internal budgets and getting those to the manager at per his direction. So I can.
But it's probably.
It'll be April, May.
Yeah. So I'll see if Danae if she can get us her April. Thanks.
And I guess the other thing kind of on that note is maybe we should try to shake the cage a little bit about getting some people appointed. If we're running low on members here with only 3 people showing up.
Yeah, because thanks for the reminder. And obviously applied, hasn't gotten notice yet, which she hasn't told me, but a few months ago she didn't hear anything. Have you applied? No. Yeah. I'll reach out to Danae as well. I don't know why we wouldn't appoint people, but I'll check with Danae.
One quick one, I failed to, and you had heard it at I believe the sidewalks. Anyways, they had asked for a pedestrian. I don't want to say path, but connection from basically the Capitol down to downtown. But it was brought up that maybe we should look at from the hospital to the Capitol to downtown, kind of a pedestrian corridor that we could point at this is a quote unquote compliant corridor. So we're exploring what streets would be and that already have facilities or facilities that need to be improved or whatever. So we're looking at those east-west avenues to potentially look at that pedestrian corridor.
Okay. Yeah, that's something I've had in the back of my mind about, Ninth Street. Is also a link from, a main pedestrian path from Smith School to the Capitol complex, so that maybe that could fit in there as well. Broadway and then jog over to one of the side streets. People just shy away from but people just shy away from Broadway just because the cars are too fast.
Narrow.
It's not really narrow because there's no parked cars on it, so it's wide. If there were parked cars on it, it would be great. That would really help, but people just don't park cars on it. But yeah, we'd be happy to love to assist in, vetting options there.
And I did get MDT is doing some work along 11th and Prospect. I didn't get the actual scope. I asked for a meeting to see what the scope was. They were asking for our input on what we were planning on the side streets. And so before I mentioned anything, I wanted to get the scope to see what they're actually planning. That was what you were commenting upon, seeing their survey equipment out there.
Yep.
I'm assuming. So
Well, I know they had I commented a while ago on, they wanted to, there were nighttime collisions, so they wanted to light it. That was their mitigation. So that was one of the projects, was to light it, but they're doing a way more work out there than seemed to be involved in a light.
So I'll let MTech know what this project that I got contacted by.
Perfect. Thanks. Appreciate you calling up on that.
Hopefully it's picking 3 lanes down to 2 lanes.
Well, that'll be one of my comments.
That'll be doubtful, but
Well, we'll still provide the comments. And there is federal funding to get rid of barriers. No, tough sell, but if you don't ask for it, you're certainly not going to get it.
if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Yep. Okay. Meetings of interest. I'll follow up. I don't know that 6th Ward plan, neighborhood plan. David, I'll reach out to Michael Alvarez. I didn't hear back from him last. I don't know.
I provided comments, quite a few comments. And after that, I heard 0.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Michael Alvarez. Because it seems that it's kind of stalled out a little bit here. The Montana Avenue safety study, I did email Tyrell at MDT here today.
So that's one where I think if MTech is agreeable, our recommendation is a roundabout at Broadway and Montana, and a roundabout at 6th and Montana, and a road diet in between the two. And then whether it makes sense in MDT's eyes to continue that road diet down from 6th down to 11th, that's their call. But if they have a road diet in the middle, they're going to have to transition that to a single lane anyways. And so that's the city's perspective on that. So don't know if you agree, but that's what we're hoping for. Because
personally, I agree, but we can talk about it.
The stop signs don't always work, because stop signs, or most people think that they're great traffic calming, but that's not their intention. They're to meter traffic. So to have 4-way stops, you're supposed to have basically even distribution of traffic across the legs, or as close. Anybody that drives through that intersection or uses that intersection knows that at least 2 of the legs at any point in the day are empty. And so you play the, no, you go kind of game. Whereas if it was a roundabout, you would keep the, not only the vehicular traffic moving, but you'd also have those pedestrian features because of the narrowing of the roadway, or the travel lanes, excuse me. So, I mean, it seems like it's a no-brainer for that area. It would calm that traffic all around, and then putting a mid-block crossing where they had it before would be would be not even a second thought. I mean, it would just fit right into the whole scheme of things. But the last I heard, that wasn't the route that MDT was.
Well, that's one was
pursuing.
Study what MDT would like versus what the people who live here want could be 2 different things.
Right by the Capitol?
Yeah.
They get a say on that?
That's their street.
That's gonna.
Montana Ave from Broadway north is MDT jurisdiction and maintenance responsibility.
We'll go talk to the governor.
Yeah, the MDT roadways in Helena are, some make perfect sense, some not so much, like Montana there. And most people, don't differentiate between a county road, a city road, or MDT. And so when they call and ask me to do something, I'm like, oh, sorry. I don't even have maintenance responsibility, so I don't even really have a foot up on.
However, there, in this era of limited funding opportunities, there is an advantage. That's where the flash or the RRB at Broadway Jefferson School came from, because it was a MDT route. They have pools of federal funds, so not necessarily a disadvantage.
Yeah.
So a great thing that came out of our citywide maintenance agreements was I didn't think I needed to, but I asked anyways to be good neighbors with MDT on that flashing crossing there at 11th and Warren. And I basically got the email back, oh, that's maintenance. That's your deal. You got maintenance along there. So, you can change that out. And I'm like, okay, because that hasn't been the response that we've received in the past. So things are changing in MDT. So hopefully they're continuing to change. So
I have been noticing there's the generational change.
So it's been really good working with them. It's always been good working with them, but it's nice to see the change and the local input is becoming more and more. So.
The 5-point intersection study, that's the one up like on Neil. Isn't that one?
Yeah, that one's, they're still doing survey and right of way determinations.
So
it's in the preliminary stages.
Yeah, I just gotta put it on here, otherwise I forget, but
as soon as we have anything public, we have a pretty robust public outreach for that one. Not only individual stakeholders, but group stakeholders, and then overall public needs.
Okay. Any other public comment on anything that wasn't on the agenda?
See any hands raised on the two that are in the attendees.
Okay. And had let me know, like MDT has a Vision Zero program. It's really geared toward highways. And if we can take tailor something like that to the city, that's actually kind of like the Bozeman Safe program. That's more of an urban transportation type of thing. But I'll put that on the agenda for next month, and we can talk about that. But I think that Dave, I doubt there's anybody at the transportation department that wants to take that on until we get an MPO planner potentially.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of things that are going to come up through the MPO manager. Just simply, they're going to have the time and the capacity to do some of these things that we're already stretched kind of thin on. But
yeah, they're great programs, but gotta keep the wheels running. Okay. Okay. Next meeting will be March 12th. And be in this room or Zoom. And
hopefully we'll have the technical difficulties fixed by then.
That'd be great. But this works too. It's just part of the world we live in now. Find a way to limp along. So.
Well, it's a lot easier with the mic and the camera, so everybody can see. But we'll see what the issue was, why this wasn't working at all, other than the TV screen is on. So sorry about that.
Okay. If there isn't anything else, it is 7 o'clock, and we got a late start, but we're quick. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Yeah. All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And